Hey guys, Work here, welcome back to the bench, and welcome to all of the new shooters who have recently entered our community. With all the crazy crap going on in the world, we appreciate you and we welcome you with open arms. Now, with that being said, there's a couple of things that I would like to talk to you about. Some information that I know, some knowledge that I have gathered from myself and from some of my shooting friends to be able to spread to you guys to help you out. A couple of the things we're going to cover today is I'm going to cover choosing a firearm, we're going to cover what to do once you choose the firearm, how to shoot it, and generally just things to know, things to pay attention to. So with that, let's get at it. So, you've chosen to be a new firearms owner. Awesome. That is fantastic. And we are here to help you. That's right. We, the current firearm users, are here to help you guys with your proper decisions, getting the right tools for the right jobs, and helping you guys not waste money, because trust me, some of us have wasted plenty of it. So first of all, the thing that I'm going to be covering here is specifically self-defense. I'm not going to be covering like specific home defense. This is going to be just in the realm of firearms that you can buy that you may eventually one day want to carry. I'll go over a little bit about home defense in the same kind of realm, but we're going to be covering just pistols today. We're not covering shotguns, which I don't think are optimal for home defense anyway, or rifles, which, in order to be optimal for home defense, need a little bit of extra stuff, a little bit of more attention paid to it. Let's go to the first thing that everybody is concerned with as far as a firearm goes, and that is the caliber. So the caliber of a firearm is the specific firearm, the specific round that's going to be used in that firearm. You've got anything from, on the low end, like 22 long rifle, which is not optimal for self-defense, so I would highly recommend not going with that. It's an unreliable round that is underpowered and just not that great of a round. You see a lot of statistics about 22 caliber being used, having the most deaths and stuff like that, but it's because it's also used the most, because it's readily available, super cheap. But it's also unreliable. You'll get a lot of problems with that particular caliber. And again, it's underpowered. The majority of the guns that carry them only carry 10 rounds at most. So let's go up from there. The acceptable, kind of public or commonly acceptable firearm calibers for self-defense are, on the low end, you've got 380. Moving up from there, we've got 9mm, 40 caliber, and 45. So those are pretty much the four that most people try to go with. Let's start with 380. 380 is a weaker round, lighter weight. The benefit is they usually come in smaller framed guns, and in a bigger framed gun, they don't have as strong of a recoil. 9mm is a fast, medium weight round, usually clocking in at around a little over 1,000 feet per second, and about 124-ish grains, compared to 380, which is about 90 grains, moving at about 800 to 900 feet per second. So you get a little bit more weight, a little bit more speed, which is kind of the name of the game. The bullet diameter between the two is very similar. The 380 in Europe is actually called the 9mm Kurz round. So Kurz is short. So diameter is about the same, but because you get that additional speed and weight in the 9mm, the round has more potential for more damage. Moving up from there, you've got 40 caliber. So 40 caliber is a little bit heavier, a little bit faster. Again, going 12 to 13 to 1400 feet per second at like 160 to 180 grain projectile. The problem with 40 caliber is because it's moving so fast and it's so heavy, it tends to be a very poppy round. The recoil that you're going to feel is pretty intense, and the follow-up shots are more difficult, and we'll get to that in a minute and why that's pretty important. And lastly, we got the 45. The 45 is kind of the big daddy boy of all of them. It's a big round of 220, 240 grain, somewhere in there, but it's moving significantly slower than the 9mm and the 40 calibers, around 800 to 900 feet per second. So you're looking at, 2.5 times the grain weight of a 380 going at the same speed. It uses that weight to its advantage to be able to push through material when it actually hits it. My personal preference is 9mm. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's a fast, semi-heavy round that is not going to be overly powerful in recoil, so your follow-up shots are then a little bit quicker. So the reason follow-up shots are important, it's been statistically proven that the more rounds you put on target, the more likely or the faster that target is to stop the fight, which is the end goal. It's not necessarily to kill, it's to stop the fight. You don't want the other person doing it anymore. You don't want the other person coming at you anymore. So that's why we place such an emphasis on that second shot, or the follow-up shots. Okay, so you'll notice that I didn't mention any of the revolver calibers. 38 Special, 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum, etc. And that's because I don't feel like first-time shooters should be buying revolvers. A lot of the stuff that you hear in the gun stores about revolvers being more simple, easier to shoot, safer, less likely to malfunction, most of those are untrue. They are not easier to shoot. They are not more simple. They are slightly less likely to malfunction. However, when a revolver malfunctions, it's detrimental. Whereas when a semi-automatic malfunctions, you just drop the magazine, put a new one in, and do a tap rack. 99% of the time, that's going to fix your problem. Heck, 98% of the time, just racking the slide is going to fix the problem. So revolvers, to me, are not a good option for first-time gun owners. The trigger pull is significantly more difficult. It's a very heavy, very long trigger pull, and that's generally not somebody who hasn't shot a lot can master. Because of that, I always recommend semi-automatics. So a couple of pointers as far as that goes. So first up, if you can help it, do not get a smaller gun. I see a lot of new gun owners going towards like the Ruger LCPs, the Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Yes, those are in 380, which is a lower powered round. However, they're also very, very snappy guns because of the size. They're all micro compact mouse guns like this. So this is a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 380. It's a nice, well-made little gun. This particular one has a laser on it that flashes apparently. This is because of its size and form factor, it's very snappy when it comes to recoil. Despite shooting the 380 round, it's a very snappy gun. It's got a lot of recoil and it's a lot to hold on to, especially for somebody who isn't used to carrying a firearm. Now, in addition to that, this is cleared and safety checked, no magazine. In addition to that, it's got a very long, very heavy trigger pull. The trigger pull on this is upwards of 10 pounds, very long, and it's very difficult to shoot. Very similar to the revolvers that I was talking about just a little bit ago. So that's why I don't recommend the Ruger LCP or the LCP2. The LCP2's trigger is significantly better, but it's still this snappy sub-form factor, so I do not push people towards smaller guns like this. The smallest gun that I would push someone towards is this. This is a SIG P365. You can have the 365, which is this one, or the 365 XL, which is a slightly longer grip, slightly longer slide, and has an optics cut. This shoots 9mm, and it's slightly bigger than the Bodyguard, but the shootability of this particular firearm is so much better than the Bodyguards or the LCPs. It's not as snappy, it's easier to hold on to, much more controllable. The sights are significantly better. This has SIG's X-ray sights, which is a high-vis front, and a squared notch blacked out rear. The trigger on this one, significantly lighter, still a long trigger pull, but this one's coming in like around, I think, 6 pounds or so. And the cool part about this, so the LCP and the Bodyguard both have like 6-round magazines. This has 10 rounds of 9mm, making this an adequate pistol for concealed carry, where very few situations that you will ever get yourself into can this not get you out of. Now that being said, for me, this is not optimal. So there's a lot of math behind this, but generally speaking, you want the biggest firearm that you can carry concealed comfortably. There's a couple of reasons. Bigger grip means better control. Longer sight radius means it's easier to make more accurate, and a longer barrel means more velocity. Now on the other side of the spectrum is the too big gun. This is a CZ-P10F. This is a full-size gun. It's along the ballpark of like the Glock 17 and the M&P full-size. And you can see this grip is pretty big. This gun holds 19 +1 rounds. The Glock and the M&P are both 17, but when you're concealed carrying, this right here is the difficult part to hide. The barrel length doesn't matter that much, but it's this right here that's more difficult to hide. So you want to minimize your grip length to be able to conceal properly, and so I do not suggest this for a concealed carry gun. Now, with that being said, this is a perfect home defense gun. Again, as I said, the longer grip that you have, the more control you have, meaning this gun will give you more control over some of the compact versions like a Glock 19 or the CZ P10C. So if you are specifically buying it for home defense, the P10F, the Glock 17, the M&P full size, all fantastic options. However, if you are ever considering carrying it, not the best choice. So I'm going to give you a list. This is in no particular order of firearms that are generally viewed as good concealed carry options in the industry. I'm going to get my phone to read this list because it's not a short list. Okay, we've got the Glock 19, the Glock 48, and 43X. These are single stacks, so they're thinner, but have a slightly longer grip to be more comfortable. You also have the option of the Glock 43, which is a 9mm single stack subcompact. But again, you're going to be running into the same issues that you do with like the Ruger LCP and the Bodyguard, where it is a snappier gun. It is less snappy than those, but it is snappy. Now, along the same lines, you've also got the Glock 42, but that's going to be about the same pop and snap as the Ruger LCP and the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, so I would stay away from that for first-time firearms owners. We also have the Glock 26. This is a subcompact version holding about, I think, 10 rounds in the magazine, but it's a double-stack gun, a little bit more weight, a little bit more girth to be able to help with that recoil management in 9mm. Then we've got the CZ P10C and the P10S. I actually carry a P10C. It is a fantastic firearm, fully reliable, and the grip on that is slightly longer than the Glock 19, so if you were concerned about that, the Glock 19 might be the better option. Then we've got the SIG P365 and 365XL, which we just talked about. The Springfield Armory Hellcat. Slightly unproven. We've seen some trigger issues with this, but the majority of people that I've talked to that have actually had one and actually shot one have not seen the issues, so that one, I would go with the 365 at this point, but it's up to you. Then we've got the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Compact. That is a compact very similar to the size of the 19. After that, we've got the Shield line from Smith & Wesson. These are all single, like 1.5 stack, a little bit wider than the single stack guns, but they carry between 7 and 8 rounds. Now, the nifty part about the Shield line is you've got the original Shield in 9mm and 40. And then you've got the new EZ platforms. They've got a Shield EZ in 380 and an EZ in 9mm. Now, the cool part about these EZ versions is that they are easier to rack. They have modified them a little bit with a grip safety and a couple of different features to make the slide a little bit easier to rack by hand, so that when you're charging the pistol for the first time, you're going to be able to actually charge it if you've got weaker grip strength or weaker wrist strength. So going on from there, we've got the FN 509 midsize, the H&K VP9. We've got the SIG P320 compact, X carry, and X compact, all great options. And then if you are a little bit nervous about the striker guns, which is what I've mentioned before now, and you really want a hammer-fired gun, you've got options from CZ, the CZ P01, which is an aluminum frame gun. Beretta makes the Beretta 92 in a compact size. The CZ P07, which is a polymer frame hammer-fired gun. And the Beretta PX4 Storm Compact. So a couple of things to stay away from as far as brands and specific guns. The Ruger LCPs and the Bodyguard 380s. We've already covered that, and you know why. Revolvers, again, we've covered that as well. Then we've got 1911s. So 1911s are a very popular style. They are nicely made. It was the U.S. military's firearm for a very long time. However, as time has progressed and things have gone by, they have become less reliable than the majority of the firearms that I have mentioned, and they take a little bit more training to be able to get used to them and use them properly. And then finally is the Springfield XD series. That's the XD and the XDM, as well as, I would say, the XDS. Now, the reason for these particular ones is these firearms have a grip safety on them, and that grip safety has proven to be unreliable in a lot of classes. It falls apart or breaks, rendering the gun useless. So that's why I would stay away from those XDs. I would not get them. Okay, so now you've got a gun and you're looking to be able to carry it. To carry it, you need 3 things, okay? First up is the ammo. You need high quality, good defensive ammo, and that means hollow points. There's a difference between hollow points and full metal jackets. Hollow points are made for self-defense. They have a cavity in the end that, under impact of a mostly water medium, we'll just leave it at that, that cavity actually expands, spreading out the front of the bullet, creating a wider path that it's actually going to travel through, causing more damage. So you want hollow points. There are a ton of hollow points, and everybody is going to argue for their particular hollow point brand. Best option is to go into a gun store, talk to the people there about the hollow point options, and listen to them. Next up is a good holster. In order to comfortably and confidently carry a firearm, you're gonna need a good support system. That support system is built of a holster and a belt. So for the holster, I suggest going to Harry's Holsters. I'll have a link in the description down below for that. You can use the coupon code Work the Trigger for 10% off. Harry makes great holsters. They've got great build quality, they're extremely versatile, they hold the gun firmly, and they just do their job. Now, Harry's holsters are made of Kydex, which is the holster material that I always recommend, and here's why. You've got three different options, more or less. You've got Kydex, which is a plastic that the gun actually clicks into. You've got a hybrid holster, which is a leather backing with a Kydex front on it. To me, that leather backing sitting up against your body is just a gigantic sweat pad. I do not like them, they're uncomfortable. In addition to that, they don't have as good a retention as the pure Kydex holsters. Then you've got the pure leather holsters. Pure leather holsters have a similar issue as the hybrid holsters, where they don't have like really good retention. They do have a little bit better retention just because generally they put it suede side in, which gives you a little bit more friction. But they don't have as good a retention as the Kydex holsters, and they wear your guns out crazy fast. You don't think about it, but leather is pretty darn abrasive. And last up, we'll go with the belt. So the belt that I prefer is the Daltec Force Super Bios belt. This is a synthetic belt that's made to look like leather, and it does. It's got extreme strength and extreme rigidity, however, it doesn't look tactical. Which brings me to kind of a point that I would like to talk about as far as tactical gear and carrying a firearm. You do not have to look like an operator to carry a firearm. You just don't. I dress every day in jeans and a t-shirt. I wear a belt that looks like a leather belt and a gun that you can't see. And honestly, that is probably the preferred way to carry the majority of firearms. The goal is to be inconspicuous, for no one to know that you have it. So, if you dress tactical with 511 pants and a tactical shirt and a big old web belt open carrying your gun, you are more likely a target than you are an innocent bystander in the minds of anyone who would want to do something. Now, that may deter in some cases, but probably not. That's it for this time, guys. Thank you again for listening to my tips for you new shooters out there. Remember, if you found this video useful, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. If you've got any additional tips that you think I missed, go ahead and write them in the comments down below. Thank you, guys. I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.